Okay, and live from Scheinfeld Center Innovator Studio at Santa Barbara City College, it's the Enlightened Entrepreneur Podcast, where we inform and inspire Gen Z to become more entrepreneurial and innovative in our global economy. My name is Julie Sampson, and I serve as director here at the Scheinfeld Center. So let's just jump right into it and kick off our discussion. It's September 2020, and globally, the coronavirus pandemic has impacted our lives for months since it surfaced last year. It's become a generation-defining moment for Gen Z, and with its disruptive economic and social impact occurring at a time when Gen Z is expanding their awareness of the world and shaping their identities and beliefs. Coming of age during a world crisis will undoubtedly leave traces on this generation. So, how is this pandemic affecting Gen Z's aspirations in life, work, and entrepreneurship? To help us explore that, joining us are three up-and-coming Gen Z entrepreneurs. Rubin Gonsalves is an electrical engineering student with a passion for robotics and entrepreneurship. A recent graduate of SBCC, he has transferred to San Jose State University and aims to professionally combine engineering, entrepreneurship, strategy, and management. Rubin is a two-time winner in the Scheinfeld Center's Enterprise Launch Program, and he's coming to us from LA. Luiza Midosi Helmholz is a 2020 graduate from SBCC in political science. She was transferred to UCLA to continue political science studies with the aim of becoming a U.S. diplomat in her home country of Brazil and also open her own law firm one day. She is coming to us here in Santa Barbara. And then we have Emilio Sanchez. He's an economics major from New York City, currently studying at SBCC. He runs an online store that he opened in high school in 2018, which has grossed over 55K in sales year to date. So welcome all of you, and thank you for representing Gen Z in our podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Let's provide some context. So the first reported COVID-19 deaths in the US were in February 2020. And New York emerged as our nation's hotspot, with Governor Cuomo declaring a state of emergency on March 7th. So Emilio, you're from New York City. Were you in New York City when COVID-19 hit?
I was, and so I remember Governor Cuomo declared this as a state of emergency around like early March 7th, and the public school system, which I was a part of, I was a senior, so it was our last semester of high school. We were that week so de Blasio shut down the schools on March 18th, and that time, those 11 days from the 7th to the 18th, there was like a lot of speculation going on and a lot of uncertainty. And I remember talking amongst my classmates and just seeing all over social media, like, is he going to shut down the schools? And a lot of people wanted him to, and they were hesitant to, but eventually he did. And once the schools got shut down, it was like a snowball effect, like everything else, like dining, and then, gyms and everything. I think gyms and dining closed first, and then the schools, and then after the schools closed, it was just a snowball effect of things getting shut down,
Okay, so with all of that, what has been the biggest impact on you of COVID-19?
Yeah, me personally, I'd probably say like losing out on senior year was definitely pretty big. We had to stay inside. I remember staying inside from like March to probably like May. I went out like one or two times in between. And I do remember like once the schools got shut down, people were just lining. There was the line outside of Trader Joe's was like around like 2 blocks, and just people were just like hoarding like and stacking like toilet paper.
Toilet paper, yeah.
That's right. That's right. It seems it's so funny. Here we are in September, and in some ways it feels like the time has gone so quickly. And in other ways, it seems like it just was an eternity ever since this thing started. Like the whole thing of hoarding, right? Yeah. You go to the store and it's like, and then it makes you think, oh my gosh, well, should I be grabbing stuff?
Oh yeah, that's when it hit me is when I started seeing all the shelves empty in grocery stores. I was like, okay, maybe I should take this more seriously, you know?
Yeah. And so, Ruben, where were you when all of this hit?
I was in Santa Barbara. I was finishing up my last semester at Santa Barbara City College, and I was really looking forward to moving and the transition of moving to San Jose. You know, I've always wanted to be in the Silicon Valley. I always told my friends I wanted to, after I graduate, I want to spend a few years in Silicon Valley just because of my interests and stuff like that. And so I was really excited, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and all my classes changed online and everything. So that was a bummer, but you have to adapt to changes. So
It's an entrepreneurial thing, right?
yeah,
Time
yeah.
for entrepreneurs to shine with COVID-19, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get more into that. So yeah, Luiza, how about you? Where were you when COVID-19 hit, and what's been the biggest impact for you?
So I was actually in Santa Barbara when it hit. I worked at a supermarket at the time, so I got to see the chaos firsthand. I worked as a cashier, so the lines would get huge, crazy. A lot of people would come in not wanting to wear masks, refusing to wear masks. It was a different way, like a different perspective. There was also a time where I thought I got COVID.
Oh,
Um, I still don't know if I did or if I didn't. Um, but it was crazy.
yes, for sure. And actually, I've talked to quite a few people who have said, I think I may have had it at one point or another, but they don't really know and they
Yeah.
haven't tested. And it was,
Um,
long ago when everybody was isolating and
I
everything.
I actually got tested twice. Both came out inconclusive. Even the doctors at Cottage Hospital over here told me that they told me I had all the symptoms. Like it looked like I had COVID, but the
Yeah.
test came back negative, and they did tell me like treat it as if you have it because the test is only 60% accurate. So
Yeah. Really good advice. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. All of you have interfaced with entrepreneurship in different ways right now. So I know, Emilio, you launched your business in high school, which is so classic of what we're learning from Gen Z. Rubin, I know that you were in enterprise launch here at Santa Barbara City College and helped a team launch concept in a single semester. And then Luiza, I know from your bio, you indicated that you're wanting to get into entrepreneurship. So it's interesting with COVID-19, it's had an interesting impact in that when there is such dramatic change, there is tremendous disruption, but then there is also, if we're thinking as entrepreneurs and having the entrepreneurial mindset, we can also see that's tremendous opportunity in it, right? And I just think it's been such an amazing time to watch different businesses and how they've pivoted, what they're doing and how they're managing it, from manufacturers switching to creating protective gear, to restaurants, serving the first, frontline responders, and just so many different examples. So in kind of moving through this with your entrepreneurial inclinations, has it changed your aspirations or view of entrepreneurship at all? Luiza, do you want to take that?
it has changed. It has changed my views at least, but in a good way. And I feel like COVID has given me a new way of thinking, a new perspective, to a new way of taking things. Um, just by seeing the way businesses around me and around where I live, how they've been treating COVID and the other aspects and the other ways they're dealing with it. So I think it really opened my mind to the possibilities of what can be done. It doesn't always have to be one certain way.
Yes. Yeah, really good. Yeah. How about you,
Agree with
Ruben?
that. Yeah, I agree with what Luiza said. I feel like, you know, before COVID, we were all like stuck on our routine and things like that. And COVID really forced everyone, companies, people, startups, everyone to like adapt and change suddenly. And I think because of that, it really forced us to look at things in a different way. It gave us an opportunity to do school online. It gave us to do work online and things like that. But at the same time, what benefited most is that people realize that, oh, this can be done online. And it helped people adapt to challenges and situations that might come in the future. You know, a lot of companies were first to go online and things like that, or a lot of people were originally selling only from brick and mortar, and now they shifted to their online shops and are doing even better because, you know, you save money in terms of rent and brick and mortar and all that stuff, labor, if you have an online shop. And I feel like, you know, I'm seeing it all around me. A lot of people are taking this time, even though they're still going to school full time, they now suddenly have way more time because they're at home instead of physically being on campus and traveling to and from work and campus and home. They're saving so much more time, and they're applying that time to be able to do other passions and things that they've always wanted to do that school has gotten in the way of, or work has gotten in the way of. Like me, for example, me and a good friend of mine, we were working on a business project, and we were originally thinking of doing it brick and mortar, and then COVID hit, and then we suddenly shifted, like, what are we going to do now? And then we started thinking of doing an online shop, and it turns out the benefits are actually going to help us way more than opening a brick and mortar, and it's cost effective and things like that.
Yeah. You know, I think this opportunity can help businesses, if they're paying attention, you know, not only in the startup phase, but those who are already in business, to recognize and realize that we're in a different business environment because our world is in a different environment where it's a lot more important for sustainability to be agile and to be attentive to the what ifs. And I think it's really interesting because I teach business planning, you know, writing business plans. And if you even look at the traditional structure of a business plan, traditionally you can see that they didn't necessarily take into account all of the adversity that a business unexpected adversity that a business can encounter. And so I think it's actually really important for us all to, you know, really build that mindset, just like you're talking about, you know, into how we're structuring our businesses from the get-go. And if we're already in business, what do we need to do to be more agile?
Yeah.
And so, Emilio, you started online right from the get-go in high school. You know, while some people and businesses have been struggling quite a bit, you know, according to your sales to date, you know, you're doing really well. And so, did you see any changes once COVID hit as far as your sales increasing or decreasing, or what was your experience of it?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, they sort of like stayed the same, but I think that was due in part that the main product that I sell are like usually shirts and like sneakers as well, but mainly shirts, and like those are my best selling items. So I lowered the price on them because I realized that like I have a higher chance of selling more items like at a lower price. So I did that, and I also have a couple other people like who I outsource this to. It's sort of like drop shipping, not really, but kind of in a way. And I told them to lower the prices as well, and so far it's stayed the same. Like honestly, it's actually gone down a little since school started. I'm not sure what effect this had, but from March to like August to like mid-August, it was pretty consistent, yeah. And yeah.
That's amazing. And so it's interesting also the approach that each of you is taking to entrepreneurship, in that, Emilio, you're starting things up right in the midst of school, as a part of school. Rubin, it sounds like you're kind of in that space too.
Yeah.
And Luiza, from what I understand, you're entrepreneurial aspirations are a little bit more down the road. Is that right, Luiza?
Yeah, I'm like building onto it.
So you have academics before you move into it.
Yeah. I just want to be really well prepared and, have my research done. I love making sure everything, I want to do everything perfectly. So I want to make sure I have all the things that I can, all the knowledge that I can possibly get from school, in order to build a good business.
So you're a perfectionist.
Yeah, I am a little bit.
Nice.
What do you think about perfectionism and entrepreneurship, Rubin?
I think that's a really good trait to have, especially as an entrepreneur. Oftentimes, I feel like, that oftentimes as part of the entrepreneurial journey, you're going to run into a lot of failures and a lot of obstacles and things like that. But if you're better prepared to face those obstacles, which oftentimes perfectionists do, then you'll have a better chance of succeeding. So I think that's a really good trait to have, for sure.
Part of what happens is that I think the type of education that you're talking about is really important too, right? Because entrepreneurship is so much about taking action, and you really just sitting down and reading a book about entrepreneurship doesn't really give you that hands-on experience, right? And so it's those internships and opportunity to take on those things as part of your education that can really help with that, which is what, Emilio, it sounds like your high school program was set up that way. Did you start that as part of your business as part of a high school program, or?
Actually, the way I started it was, so growing up in New York City, like you're exposed to a lot of things, and I think that really is great. I think that's been really helpful. But I noticed that I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Yeezys and like Kanye West. He released like a sneaker line, and then so basically what I noticed was that they were selling out instantly, and then people and retail, for example, would be like $200 for shoes, and then if you bought them and you were lucky enough to get them before they sold out, you could sell them like the same day for $1,000. And
yeah,
that was like those margins were insane to me. So I usually would have like a bunch of my family members online trying to get them. So if one of us hit, that's like a great profit. So then I started doing that, and then as I realized and got to like understand the market better and stuff, like I would have my friends do it, and then it sort of like ballooned from there. So. Yeah, yeah. So I think it was a great learning experience doing that hands-on, and yeah, and another thing that I noticed was that the sneaker marketplace is similar to like the stock market and like real estate, whereas like you buy something and then like because the price of shoes go down. Actually, a good point is I got these shoes right before COVID hit, and they went for $1,000 online, and then. Or right before COVID in like February, they're going for $1,000, and I thought I'm gonna hold them. Maybe they'll be 2,000 in like a couple months, but right now they're going for like $600 because of COVID. Oh. That's something that I took a loss on, but
yeah,
I think that's a great part of it.
Yeah. So actually, that's interesting. Kind of the parallels that you make with the stock market. It's been really interesting. You can really see the businesses that are, just doing so well with COVID-19, based on the stocks that are just taking off and the ones that are really struggling. So it's, I think it's a really good thing to be tuned into the stock market, to be seeing those reactions, how the market is reacting to different things that are going on. Yeah, it's an interesting parallel that you draw there, Emilio. With college, we've done this shift to online learning, and it's caused some disruption of various sorts, like you've talked about. But also, we have heard Elon Musk come out recently saying that a college degree isn't required to work at Tesla. And actually, Apple, Google, and Netflix also reportedly came out and said they don't require a 4-year degree either. And so there's a little bit with, some students taking gap years and all that. There's a lot of question going about with Gen Z about what is the value of a college education really, and Does Ivy League school make sense? Does it not make sense? What is it really about? Where is the value, right? Where is the value in it? And so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think it definitely depends on what exactly you're trying to do. I have a friend who is a computer science major, and after completing 5 years through university and college and everything, COVID hit. So then, he didn't really want to pursue a semester because everything was online. He'd much rather experience it in person. But in the meantime, he joined a boot camp for about like 3 months, 12 to 13 hours a day of just hardcore programming, and he said he learned way more during those 3 months than he did within those 4 years at a university. And he even admitted that he feels like he wasted his time. So I definitely think, especially now, it's kind of opened a lot of opportunities and doors on how people can learn mostly everything if they, with all the resources we have under our belt and stuff like that, online. And especially now because, schools are going online, professors are posting YouTube videos and things like that from top universities. So in a sense, it's not necessarily needed, but again, it also depends on what you want to do. Students who want to pursue research, or they just want to study the black hole in space for the rest of their life. For them, it's important to get a PhD because that's where they'll gain the fundamental skills to be able to study that.
Yeah, really good.
Another thing that I read, I remember reading this article, and it was about millennials, and it was about how they were like 7 or 8, they were in like elementary school when 9/11 happened, which was a big event that probably shaped their lives, and then they were in high school when the recession hit in 2008, and then the last of the millennials that graduated last year and like graduating now, like they're gonna graduate into a job market that is gonna be very limited, and it's gonna be a lot of people fighting for one job. I remember reading that like they're in a very tough position. Like millennials have never had like the ability to just pursue what they want to do without having the stress of either like college debt, which a lot of them are taking on and stuff like that. So I think that's something that like our generation should learn from. Yeah.
I actually read that same article, and I can see that like millennials don't have as much order just because of all of the chaos they went through. 9/11, the recession, like you said, and I feel like every generation's a little bit different. Like boomers went through, was it boomers? The generation before boomers, like they went through the Great Recession, World War II, and because of that, they learned to value like patriotism and frugality. And now with our generation, I feel like the biggest thing with what's going on with Gen Z is COVID-19.
I heard we were gonna be sorry to cut you.
Go for it.
I heard we were gonna be like the first generation to not make more than our parents did in some cases. So
Yeah, I heard that too. And like, because of COVID-19, it's going to cause a lot of uncertainty and a lot of unpredictability of what's next and what are we gonna do. So that's our biggest obstacle, I feel, with our generation.
Absolutely, really good. Hey, we have a question here that came from our audience, so let's see if we can take it. It's Giovanni Moises typed, how do you manage to keep motivated during quarantine with work and school? Do you have a routine or some specific habits that keep you motivated?
I can take that. So for me, honestly, I think an agenda has really, really helped me. I think writing down what you need to accomplish for the day and what things, it also helps you keep a track of everything you're working on. I think writing those things down for the day and then check marking it off or crossing it off at the end of the day is a really motivating thing. It helps you keep on top of your progress, but also, it motivates you to keep going. And then also, I think a key thing is to make sure that you're not just studying or working in one spot, like at your desk in your room, the entire quarantine. You have to make sure to move around and be active and things like that to help keep your mind not just on one spot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I also feel like you should also give yourself some time and like a break. You don't want to overwhelm yourself ever. Yeah. So study as much as you can, but also like leave some time for yourself. self-care. Because if you don't, take care of yourself, that's just going to stress yourself even more, and then you might not do well in your classes. So there has to be a nice little balance.
Balance, yes, very nice. Yeah. How about you, Emilio?
I before when I was back in New York, because we still had to like finish out the school year and finish school online, so I would just like have like consistent breakfast every day. It would be like oatmeal, like yogurt and an apple, and that was one less thing to think about, like what do I need to do. So that was like having a routine, like yeah, that definitely helps and will take out the stress, like unnecessary stresses or worries. So
Yeah, that's awesome, you three. Well, I would like to thank you, Emilio, Luiza, Rubin. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast here. If people want to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
LinkedIn, Instagram, and my email. I can provide those in the description below. So.
Okay, excellent.
Likewise, email, Facebook, or Instagram, which will be provided below.
yeah, LinkedIn, email, and Instagram would probably be the best way. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I can include those links below. And so for our audience, I would invite you to join us next Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific for our third episode of the Enlightened Entrepreneur Podcast, where we'll explore Gen Z's commitment to creating positive impact in the world. And in the meantime, connect with us on Instagram and check out our website. And we have our enterprise launch program that's coming up in October that you can join. Registration is open, where you can test out that best idea that you have. So have a great week, everybody. Thanks so much. Bye. I think we got it. Let's see. End stream. And there we go.